My guest on the show today is Claudio Zavala Jr. from Texas. He's an educator, a creator, and an all-around innovative thinker who's talking to us about why risk-taking is important in education and in life. Welcome to Focus on K-12, EdTech and the Education Experience. I'm your host, Doug Konopelko, Education Strategist at CDWG. So let's dive in as we focus on K-12.
Hey, everybody. My name is Claudio Zavala Jr., and I currently work in a school district here in Texas. My role is digital designer, so I help with the virtual online piece of learning. But a lot of other stuff I do is what a lot of educators are doing is side hustles. So I have my own little, founded my own little company called I Am Claudius LLC, and I have a YouTube channel, and I do a ton of tutorials on so many different things to help others tell stories. And so you can check that out. And you can find me everywhere with Claudio Zavala Jr. So at all the social, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And check out my website, iamclaudius.com. And I love photography, video, storytelling. I love to teach. I love helping others learn. So musician as well, and woodworker. So I do a ton of stuff. It all has kind of blended together. So all the different skills that I've learned throughout the years are kind of it's an amalgam. I had a friend say, "You're like a Renaissance man," and I thought at one point, man, that would be a cool title for website, but I think it's already been taken. So
Yeah.
I don't like to call myself that. I let others do that, but yeah, that's kind of a little brief background. Been in education for 20 plus years, and seen a ton of stuff, paradigm shift. But one of the things I've seen a lot over the years is just the growth of ed tech into the classroom, and just really preparing students for the 21st century and others.
Yeah, so I know when we talk, we can go in so many different directions. I think you and I both share that we have a lot of passions and a lot of different things that we're passionate about making. So hitting a little bit on the creativity side, you mentioned the musician piece, talking a little bit about risk taking in education today, but
Sure.
you did tell me a story recently about personal risk taking that might involve another one of those passions. So can you share
Yeah.
with our audience what that is?
Definitely. So, as I mentioned, I'm a musician, play drums, and I don't know if you can see it in the background. You may be able to see it or not, but I'm about to make the lens a little wider. But yeah, I've been a drummer for over 30 years. So I've had opportunities to record in studios on different projects and to perform live. And kind of one of those things you miss right now is the live performance. But so as being a drummer, you kind of sit in the background, and there's always jokes about drummers. Are they really musicians? But it's kind of cracks me up. But I also sing. So I used to do a lot more background kind of singing, and the lead singer, guitarists are up front. So I kind of just keep the groove going, keep the cadence of the song, and let those guys kind of perform. And so at one point, I was at a South by Southwest event about in 2017, and it was I forget what company it was, but they were doing they had a karaoke band there, live karaoke band, which was pretty cool. So go there, pick a song, and it's live karaoke. And being a musician, sitting in a band, singing in the background, never really went front and center. And at one point I was like, I've always wanted to do karaoke, but I was worried, if I'm gonna bomb, is people gonna laugh at me? And nobody here I really know. So I was like, what the heck? Let's go ahead and pick the song. At that one, I actually did Hotel California, and which has that super long ending. So they kind of cut that short, but
Yeah.
it was, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And up there, while you're up there, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fun. And after I was done, people were like, hey man, good job. It was fun and enjoyed it. And people recording it and video, watching it later. And I was like, man, why didn't I do that years ago? And fast forward, that same year I was at ISTE in San Antonio, and there was a EdTech karaoke. And hey, well, I did the karaoke then. Let me do this one. Audition in the auditorium, and then show up to the thing, and then okay, calling all the people up there, and you really don't realize how many people were there. And I was actually like in front and center. I'm like, oh my gosh, so many people. Long story short, or I'll share. I did a Lionel Richie All Night Long. That was like my first song. I made it to the second round, which I was like super shocked, and did the Commodore's Brick House, and I got third place, which was I still to this day crack up because like I am not a like singer. I can hold a tune, but I say all that really was I took that risk that I never did for so many years that I wanted to do that. I had a ton of fun, but really that was the impetus to a lot of what I'm doing now and YouTube channel and really stretching out and growing that website and reaching out people asking, can you present? And I really took a step, leap out there and to the unknown. And so many opportunities have come because of that. And so much, really to be blessed to do a lot what I'm doing right now, but all because I took that one moment of risk where to, you always say, man, I wish I would have done it sooner. And it's never too
Yeah.
late, but it's
Yeah, so it sounds like that taking that risk was a catalyst for, kind of taking some more risks moving
absolutely.
forward. Maybe take me to sort of your life in education then, and what are a few of the risks that you've taken through that lens?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, 20 plus years teaching, and I grew up in California. So I started teaching when I was in California. And initially, I didn't want to be a teacher. That wasn't like my first foray into it. So, I was going to be a firefighter, paramedic, and was a few classes away from becoming a firefighter. And I decided, well, I decided to shift. I don't know why, it just happened. And I said, you know what, I think I want to go teach. I'll teach Spanish and be a baseball coach. Ended up being an elementary teacher. So all those things, I don't know, can I really do this or not? And, enjoyed it. I got to work with students that, were Spanish speakers first, like I was growing up. So really was able to connect with them. And then as the years went, started really involving myself in some of the tech stuff, trying to back then it was dial up stuff and using like a switch to run the internet. Like it probably I don't even remember how the bandwidth, it was probably like 1 megabyte or so. It's super, you know, you hear that little squeaky thing. And
Yeah,
Netscape was going on then.
the
And
56K modem dialing up.
yeah, that's what it is. And then trying to incorporate like blogging into the classroom, creating a website where students will be able to go in and kind of add their discussion, kind of like a little discussion board. Kind of, I created my own like little one HTML, and it was like, this is just internal, nobody's watching it, but it really allowed the students kind of like, oh, this is pretty neat. Like I'm able to share with others, and we can comment on each other. And principal asked me, hey, would you be interested in being like a tech liaison here? I said, sure. Not really knowing a lot of like uh tech stuff. And I'll do it, yeah. And I was like, okay, so I got to figure out what a modem's like, you mentioned, and how to, at that time I was daisy chaining some of them, and just little
Right.
by little. And moved out here to Texas, taught a couple years. And then an opportunity came up to be an ed tech trainer. And never was a trainer, really just working with the teachers at that school. And I decided, well, let me go for that job. You never know. Well, got into it. I've been doing that, that kind of last 12 years. And fast forward to like this past year with this whole, you know, we this whole new world that we're learning in virtual world. And with working from home, I actually had an opportunity come up where it's like, hey, would you be interested in kind of doing what I do now, which is working with the online learning piece. And really not knowing how it was going to happen, how it was going to go, with the internet going out here and there. And can I do this job? And it's like, you know what, it's an open door. I'm going to take that risk. And it's I've been able to work closer from home and been able to take my daughter to school. So some really opportunities
Sure.
have opened up there. And but all because I really like at one point take that risk. And now it's like, if people can approach me, I'm like, yeah, even if I don't know how to do it, I'll say, I can probably figure it out, I'll do it. And then you just jump on the web and start doing some research.
Sure. So you mentioned, right, this leaving the classroom, right? Going from a teacher to a district
Yeah.
role. And I think one thing that we've seen more and more of is that there are a lot of folks that, as teaching has shifted and teaching and learning has shifted to be more reliant on the virtual spaces, we've seen people who are interested in possibly making a change. So maybe talk about a little bit about the risk of going from the classroom to a larger responsibility district style role, and what that meant for you.
Yeah. So, you have your classroom that, you're kind of I would, for lack of a better term, is like that what you're managing is, you're working with a group of students on, that you're teaching, but you have that, it's kind of a micro world right there, that campus. And you have your principal that you work with, and the leader of the campus, and so kind of working on some of the things that are asked to be done. And you work with a group of teachers, collaborate with them, so it's a kind of a really small micro world. But then when you decide to make that jump, and I know I've spoken with a lot of educators that have reached out, and they're interested in doing this type of role, that's kind of an admin role, or going out working in the district. And then it becomes like macro. You're dealing with a whole different set of problems, and things that come up, and we have to figure out problems to solve, and solutions, and things that will come up. That so that there's a comfort level being in the classroom, but at the same time you're just like, I'm ready for something else, I'm ready to make that jump. And not knowing what will come about, what kind of things will come up that you may be prepared for, and some of the things you may not be. But if you're someone, I think no matter what you're doing, whatever risk you take, you have to be flexible. So if you're flexible, if you can kind of be I would say self-sufficient, but self-motivated to go kind of like research the things, and not really it's great to rely on others, but you got to self-motivated. But if you have that kind of drive, if you take that risk, I think you'll be a lot more successful, as opposed to, like, if you're really not reaching out to others, you're really not trying to improve yourself. I think you might have a bit of a challenge. But I think if you're at that point where you're ready to make that jump right now, especially the way the world has really changed, with a lot of virtual, like, hey, I'd like to reach, I have this passion to do this, I might venture out, and maybe in a district admin role, but maybe something else, maybe jump, maybe you're ready to move on to some personal passion you have. Maybe you enjoy baking, or woodworking, or I don't, whatever kind of passion you've always had, when you're like, I enjoy teaching students, that's a passion, but I also have this other passion, this other thing that I've like, I want to try that, I've always wanted to do that. I want to say, at some point before I move on beyond this world, and I want to say, I did it, I tried it. And it's like, I tell my own kids, like, you know what, you're young, you can mess up right now a lot more. As you get older, it's getting a little harder to mess up, because you got people relying on you. But if you're ready, if you've had that passion, you're ready to make that jump, like, it's obviously, it's going to be a risk. That's, no matter what you do, it's going to be a
Right.
risk.
And there's things you can do, obviously, to mitigate the risk.
Yeah.
And you can start, just like you did, just like I did, right? You can start a business while you're still teaching,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You can start to pursue those passions. It doesn't even have to be a business, right? You can start a YouTube channel. You can
Oh yeah.
start, even if you're someone who's not yet active on social media professionally, you can start doing that. So there are ways you can start putting your work out there. And I think
Absolutely.
the conventional wisdom, which I guess is conventional wisdom for a reason, is that the important thing is just to start,
Yeah.
right? So if you want to write, just write. Who cares? Don't spend so much time thinking about, well, what am I going to write? Who am I going to write it to? What tone am I? Just start writing, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a message that is really important for folks who are probably planning on, they do want to stay in the classroom, continue to, support their families and all that. But you can still dip your toe in that water of risk taking, even while you're continuing to impact the world of K-12. So, Claudio, this went so fast. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your passion, your creativity, the storytelling, and talking a little bit about those risks that you've taken.
Yeah, well, if I'll say one more thing, mentioning like taking that jump and maybe even starting the YouTube channel. I'll just say really quick for that is there's a ton of people that are doing great things on YouTube, and you're like, well, someone's already doing it. Someone's already doing, for photography tutorials, or someone's already doing cooking or baking, but no one's doing it like you are. So that's the thing. So that's the great thing is that there's some opportunity to share your voice out there, yourself, your students, and it is that risk. You're going to put your voice out there, your face out there. It kind of cracked me out because recently I got a comment back and it made me laugh. It was kind of a negative, kind of like, oh, this and that, like, and it just, for those, it just makes me laugh because like, well, hey, that's someone's opinion, but it doesn't discourage me from continuing doing it because there's a lot more positive out there than there is the negative. So yeah, take that step, jump out there, share your voice. If you got something to share with others, try it. And like you said, it's just start.
Yeah. Claudio, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today on Focus on K-12 EdTech and the Education Experience. If you enjoyed today's show, please feel free to like, subscribe, and click the little bell so that you get notified whenever we post a new episode. Or reach out to me on Twitter @dkonopelko. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time as we focus on K-12.